Okay, welcome to Yin. So my name's Julie, in case I didn't introduce myself. So I always start off the Yin practice. I'm sitting on a little blanket, and I'm away from my mat only because the beginning of class, we do a little breath work, and there's an intention that we share together. So that takes up the first few minutes of class, and then we'll get onto the mat and I'll talk less and we'll do a lot more poses. So just take a few moments and find a nice, steady, comfortable posture. And I always think it's important to close the eyes, to let go of anything that you're seeing so it's not in our way. And then we just begin to close our mouths and inhale and exhale through the nose. As we begin to steady our mind, our body follows. Same thing as we're beginning to steady the body, the mind follows. So just noticing the breath, softening any tension that you feel right now. See if we can just soften it a little bit. Maybe just bringing our awareness to it. And we'll just take regular, nice, deep breaths through the nose through our entire practice today. If you are feeling a little bit uncomfortable with breathing through your nose, obviously change to whatever feels comfortable for you. As we bring our hands to our heart this evening, we're going to chant the sound of Om, and then I will say our Yin intention for practice, and you can repeat it after me. So let's take a nice deep breath in. May I be free from fear and harm. May I be content as I am. May I be at peace with whatever comes. Let's place one hand in the center of the chest and one hand on the navel. Just take a moment and set your intention for practice today. And then just begin to notice your breath. Seeing if as you inhale, you can feel a little movement underneath your hands. This nice long exhalation will release our hands. When you're ready to open your eyes, and our first pose will be child's pose. So if you want to use a bolster or blanket underneath you, you're welcome to. But let's separate the knees nice and wide. Bring our big toes together. Make yourself as comfortable as possible. You can place a blanket underneath your head if you'd like, or whatever you want. And again, arms are comfortable too. So some people like to place their hands underneath their head, or you can stretch them out in front of you or at your sides. So whatever feels good to you. Let's take a few moments and settle in. So as we go through the yin practice, one of the things to remember is just being conscious of our breath and kind of softening into the pose. So there's very little talking, very little movement. So we're just with our own thoughts and our own body. So just be mindful, grateful, and honoring yourself and where you are today. So by now you should be in that pose that feels most comfortable to you. And let's just relax here together, feeling our breath and the softness of the pose. Take a nice deep breath in. We'll slowly release from that pose. And just stretch those legs out in front of you. Maybe take a moment, rotate the ankles, stretch out the feet. So as we go through class, the poses will get a little longer. Sometimes most challenge is just relaxing with our mind. So if you find yourself being a little agitated, just go back to the breath, okay? So we're going to do one leg at a time with this pose today. So let's tuck that right foot in. And I have a bolster here, but you're welcome to use a blanket or pillow or nothing at all. But if you can't quite come all the way down and you want your forehead to rest on something, you can, use a bolster to rest on. Or maybe it just feels good to tuck the chin slightly in towards the chest. That's fine too. So let's soften and relax our feet. Close our eyes and just take some time to take a few deep breaths until we find that pose that works for us. So sometimes it takes a little bit of time just to breathe and relax. If this right leg is not touching the earth, you may want to put a blanket underneath it so you feel grounded on both sides. So let's take another deep breath and then let's find some stillness in the pose. So when we find some stillness, we allow the breath to move us. And maybe allow our mind to get a little quieter. So as you slowly rise out of this pose, notice how the lower back feels. Let's bend both knees, bring our feet as wide as the mat, and just do a little side to side twist. Really slow. You want to stay with that yin feeling of very little movement, nice, deep, relaxing breaths. All right, let's try the other side. So set yourself up here, relax your feet, relax the jaw. And if your lower back was a little tight on that last one, maybe you don't come as far forward as you did before. So just play around with it. If you need a block for your head or blanket, let's take a nice deep breath here. Close our eyes, soften the jaw, soften the shoulders, and just let ourselves gently come forward. Instead of using props today for my head, I'm just tucking the chin in a little bit towards the chest to keep the neck nice and long and the head comfortable. So that's always an option. Really take the deepest breath that you have today, maybe a really long exhalation even through the mouth if you'd like, just to let go of any of that tension that we're holding today. Very mindful as we come back up. And same as before, just be gentle with the body. Let's spread the feet nice and wide and just gently drop the legs from side to side. We're just going to do a little tiny bit of shoulder work before we come down onto our mat. So I'm going to sit in hero pose, but you can sit in cross leg or whatever you'd like. So hero pose looks like this, sitting on our heels. So the heels are kind of tucked in right at the sit bones. But again, you can do whatever feels good for you. Let me show you the arms. So we're going to take that right arm underneath, crossing at the elbows, and just wrap it around, just like that eagle pose, if you remember. So I'm grabbing onto my thumb, and I'm pulling the hand towards my nose. So sometimes that gives us enough stretch. We relax our shoulders. But if it doesn't quite give us enough stretch, we've got a couple of options. We can just start to pull our hands away from our face. And when you feel that stretch in upper back and shoulders, you can just stop right there and hang out. If you don't like that option, you can bring your hands back to your nose and lift your elbows towards the front of the room. So either one is great. You decide what works best for you. Whatever you choose, let's just take a moment and breathe deeply into that upper back. See if we can really relax the shoulders away from the ears. Take some tension out of our jaws today. This pose is not a long one, so take your time gently unwinding. Before we go to the other side, let's just take a moment and roll our shoulders. When you're ready to go to the other side, just take the other arm underneath, probably your left if you're following along. And same thing, and this side may be different. So decide, do you want to lift the elbows or do you want to pull the hands away from the face? Take a really deep breath in, feel the breath filling up the chest, and then exhale, soften the shoulders and find that pose. On that exhale, let that go. And let's give our wrists just a little bit of movement. Probably ready to release those legs, so take your time as you release the feet, the legs. Going to come onto hands and knees for our next pose, but if you want to rotate the ankles for a few moments. We are going to come down to our bellies in a moment, but before we do that, let's release the wrists again. So I'm going to take my hands towards my body and just do a little bit of cat-cow here. So your hands don't have to be placed in this position, but let's do a few movements of cat-cow, nice and slow, noticing your breath. Slowing down the breath and the movement. Nice. All right, let's relax those wrists. We're going to come into pigeon today. So if you've never done it before and you need some props, we're going to start with our left side just because that's how I'm facing you today. So left side, we'll bring our left knee up. Now I want it towards the edge of the mat, so it's not right in front of our hip, but out to the edge. This front foot is flexed because we want to keep our knee comfortable. Stretch the other leg back as far as we can. So you may be leaning to one side, that's okay. You can also put a blanket underneath there. But if you can, we'll come fully down onto our forearms. Yeah, beautiful. Or all the way down to the floor and your head's resting on the mat. That's beautiful too. So take your time, find what feels right for you. Use whatever props you need. Let's focus our awareness in the outer hip. Left side should be feeling it. So feel that left outer hip. Breathe into it nice and deep. slowly rise. We'll work our way onto the other side. When you found your pose, just settle in. We'll begin to relax and breathe together. slowly release from this pose. We're going to work our way onto our back. So if you need a blanket underneath your head, please bring it with you. Just got maybe one more pose to do before Shavasana today. So let's separate our feet as wide as the mat. And it's up to you. I like to do maybe a cactus arm in this pose, or you can just stretch the arms straight out to your sides. But let's keep the palms up so that we can really open up the front of the chest. So for the legs here, let's just drop the knees to the right. Now, if they don't come all the way down to the floor, you may want to put a little blanket or something underneath that right knee. But if you don't want to, you can add a little bit more to this pose, which is my favorite part. I take that right foot and I bring it on top of that left thigh, and it acts like a little weight and stretches my whole left hip, left quadricep. So let's just take a few breaths here. And I really want you to focus on breathing into this whole left side of the body. So left lung, kidney, all the way down. Slowly release. Let's draw those knees in towards the chest for a moment. Make your back nice and happy. Right, so as we bring our feet to the earth, nice and wide once again, we're going to drop our knees to the left this time. You can change the position of the arms if you wish. Maybe you want to take the arms over the head this time. Or you can even interlace your hands, put your hands on your elbows if you want to. So as we bring our knees to the left, if you want to, you can take that left foot onto the right thigh and really feel that stretch through the right hip. Breathe through that right side, right rib cage, right kidneys, all the way down into this right thigh. So as you unwind from this side, let's go ahead and draw those knees back in towards the chest. You can gently rock from side to side if you need to. When you're ready, it is time for our final relaxation. So go ahead and stretch those legs out onto the mat. And in yin, they like to do a stretch in the big letter X for our final pose. But that's up to you. Let's just make yourself as comfortable as possible for these last few minutes of practice. We're going to do a little bit of breath work before you just take the final moments of complete relaxation. So this breath work today is really nice and simple. We call it the square breath, but it's just really inhaling to the count of 4, exhaling to the count of 4, inhaling to the count of 4, exhaling to the count of 4. And then there's just a little pause after you finish that square. And then you do it again. And if you can, we'll do it 3 times. And then just let go of the breath and just find your final relaxation and nice and comfortable. asana today. Let's bring one hand to the heart and one hand to the center of the chest. Being reminded of our beautiful practice. Being grateful for just showing up on our mats today. There's a beautiful practice in yoga called ahimsa. It means non-violence. The beautiful thing about ahimsa is it's not just non-violence in action, but it's non-violence in words, thoughts, and action. So as we think about ahimsa today, how we can incorporate it into our lives, ask yourself the questions: are we doing harm to ourselves by our thoughts? Are we doing harm to others or ourselves with our words? And finally, how can we be in service to this yogic principle of ahimsa throughout our daily life? What does that mean to you? This practice of nonviolence. The Yoga Sutras tell us that when nonviolence in speech, thought, and action is established, one's aggressive nature is relinquished, and others abandon hostility in one's presence. So if you haven't already, just come to a beautiful, comfortable seat with our hands to our heart. Honoring our practice today. Remembering our intention as we bow to our hearts. Namaste.